Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're an LAS student, you're getting ready to step into a world that, well, it already has this deep-rooted structure, a whole way of doing things. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible blueprint that makes it all tick.
I mean, seriously, have you ever just stopped and thought about it? How do all those moving parts, you've got cataloging, circulation, community outreach, how do they all work together so smoothly day in and day out? How does everybody know what they're supposed to be doing and who they report to?
Well, the answer isn't some crazy new tech or some modern philosophy. It's actually a foundational management theory, a set of principles that, for better or for worse, still powers so many of the institutions you're going to be leading one day. So, let's dive into what that really means.
What we're talking about here is the administrative management school of thought. You can kind of think of it as the original operating system for any big organization.
Now, what's so interesting about this theory is its focus. It's not about micromanaging what one person does all day. Nope, it's a top-down view that looks at the whole organization and basically asks, how do we make this entire machine run without a hitch? It's all about the manager's job as the planner, the organizer, and the controller of the whole system.
And to really get this blueprint, we have to meet its architect. He was a French industrialist who laid out a plan that would basically shape management for the next 100 years.
So this is Henri Fayol. And get this, he wasn't a librarian. The guy ran a mining company. But his ideas about what made a big company work were so universal that they became the bedrock for management everywhere, and that includes libraries.
Okay, so before he even got to his famous principles, Fayol first laid out these 5 core jobs of any manager. You got to plan for the future, organize all your resources, command your team, coordinate all the different moving parts, and then control the results. Now, this might seem totally obvious to us today, but back then, this was revolutionary. He was actually putting a name to what managers do.
But Fayol didn't just stop there. Oh no, he went even further and laid out a specific set of guidelines for managers to actually follow to get those 5 functions done right.
14 of them, to be exact. He believed these 14 principles were the key to making an organization succeed, and he saw them not as rigid, unbreakable laws, but more like flexible guidelines that a smart manager could apply to different situations.
All right, I know what you're thinking. 14 is a lot to take in all at once. So to make this a little easier, we're going to group them into a few themes. First up, the principles that are all about building the very skeleton of the organization.
This one is all about specialization. So instead of every librarian doing a little bit of everything, you divide up the work. One department becomes the absolute expert at cataloging and metadata. Another one becomes the go-to for reference interviews and helping users. The idea here is that this specialization makes everyone more efficient and skilled at their job.
Okay, these two sound almost the same, but trust me, they are crucially different. Unity of command means you only have one boss giving you orders. Simple, right? It avoids confusion. Unity of direction is about the team's project. Everyone working on, say, the summer reading program is following the same plan for the same goal. So one is about who you answer to, and the other is about what you're working on.
And this all fits perfectly into something called the scalar chain, which, let's be real, is just a fancy term for the classic org chart. It's that formal line of authority. Fayol argued that communication should pretty much always follow this chain. So if a librarian has an idea or an issue, it goes up to the team lead, who might take it to the department head. You don't just jump straight to the top. It's all about order and clarity.
But you know, Fayol wasn't all about cold, hard structure. A bunch of his principles are very much about the people. He pushed for fair pay, for putting the library's mission ahead of personal agendas, for treating staff with kindness and justice, and for recognizing that keeping good, experienced employees around is a huge win for the organization. And finally, there's this group of principles that's all about creating a great culture. You need discipline and clear rules, for sure. You need a sense of order both for stuff and for people. But, and this is important, you also have to encourage people to take initiative. And maybe most importantly, you have to build up esprit de corps. That's a sense of team spirit, morale, and togetherness.
So there you have it. That's the blueprint. It's clear, it makes a lot of sense, but is it really perfect for the world we live in today? As you can probably guess, not everyone thinks so. Let's dig into the critiques.
The strength of this whole approach is pretty obvious, right? It gives you a clear, efficient way to run a big, complicated place like a library system. But the weaknesses are pretty significant too. Critics say it can be way too rigid, which makes it hard to adapt or innovate. And because it's so focused on the formal structure, it can kind of ignore the messy reality of individual personalities and workplace politics.
And yet, despite all those criticisms, look at this. This quote really hits the nail on the head. You can critique it all day long, but you just can't deny how influential it is. I mean, walk into almost any library today, and you will see Fayol's ghost in the org chart and how the departments are set up and in the lines of authority. It's everywhere.
So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway for you as a future LAS pro. You have to understand this blueprint because you are going to be working inside of it. It is the invisible architecture of your profession. Knowing its strengths and its weaknesses is absolutely essential if you want to be a great manager and an effective leader.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. In this age of digital everything, constant change, and the need to be super agile, is this highly structured, top-down model a stabilizing force that keeps our libraries running? Or is it a rigid relic from the past that's actually holding them back from real innovation? It's something to chew on as you start your career. Thanks so much for joining me.